Yo, hello, what is up, you guys? Vicem back here with a brand new video. So, today we're going to be talking about, is the market due for a crash? Are we due for a crash? If so, how bad? Is it going to completely ruin the hobby? Should you get out while you can? Is this the end? Was this all just a pump and dump scheme? Well, not exactly, not necessarily. So, let's get right into it. So, right here, I have two booster boxes, one from Sword and Shield, one from Cosmic. Really, this applies to any booster box for the most part. But as you guys know, back when the initial boom happened for Pokemon, obviously a lot of things were like just going up in price, like especially newer sets that were getting released. Those were coming out the gate really hot. Even sets like it's crazy to think about that some of these sets, involved, obviously Vivid, Champion's Path was a big one. I remember, everyone was going crazy over Champion's Path, like, oh my gosh, this is one of the best sets, and everyone just wanted to get their hands on it. I remember seeing, videos of just, people complaining like, oh, scalpers and this and that. Fast forward today, obviously Champion's Path was, you know, was not really that great of a set, and it didn't really live to its initial hype, and now it's kind of just, yeah, it's just there now. But anyway, so obviously I pulled up Chilling Reign. So as you guys know, Chilling Reign, initially was doing, I would say decently well. It wasn't performing exponentially crazy like some of the other sets that were pre-releasing like kind of crazy out. We're not really pre-releasing, but coming out the gate like really hot when they first dropped. So I remember one of those sets was Brilliant Stars. I remember Brilliant Stars when that first dropped. I mean, prices were just skyrocketing. I think it got to 200 before Brilliant came down. I don't remember because I know I bought booster boxes of those for like 110, and literally like a week and a half later, they're at 140, 150, and I was like, okay, I'm not sure what happened there, but all right. But anyway, so obviously here, if I was to bring up other sets, obviously everything was going up on the uptrend. But then right here is where you had for about a year, I would say. Let's see. Yeah, I would say for about a year you started to have a crash. Like this is when things like drop. So let's look at Chilling Chilling Reign. Chilling went from 130 all the way to 85, but you were able to get booster boxes for like as low as 80. So yeah, it dropped a pretty considerable amount. I would say that's like what, like 40% around there, but yeah, somewhere around there. So yeah, pretty huge tank. And then it was struggling for a decent while. Then after like a good year, then it started to trend upward. It went up and it started to stagnate. And then this is where like it just started to climb and get to where it was at. Right now, let's look at Cosmic Eclipse. Cosmic obviously has been out for longer than Chilling Reign has been out for. So can't really say a whole lot, but essentially speaking, when Cosmic Eclipse came out, when it came out the gate, it was honestly like what you see nowadays that didn't happen for Cosmic, as many people might assume, like because I've said this before, Cosmic is a really like great set, like definitely up there for one of the best modern sets of all time. In my opinion, I would say for me personally, probably like top five. I would say top five, definitely. From what I'm seeing, who knows? Maybe some other sets can come out later this year that could change that. But anyways, so with Cosmic and a lot of other Sun and Moon sets, they were trending down, but not that much. They were trending down maybe like a 5-10% loss, like not badly, but the most consistent thing that I would see across these sets most of the time, especially like mainly with Sun and Moon and other sets, was either a slight downtrend or just stagnation, like no movement. Like literally, if you bought a box for 500, it was either that box would go to maybe 470 or something, or you'd go up to 505. Like you wouldn't really be doing much, for those couple months. Like the box would not be doing anything, right? So obviously for Cosmic, that's what was going on. And then going into the new year, start of 2023, a lot of sets, I mean, Sword and Shield, specifically Sun and Moon, a little bit of XY, but mainly Sun and Moon. This is where they started to have their uptick, and then they started reaching new highs, and then same thing, same case. They started to stagnate for a couple months, and then that's when they hit their boom. I mean, honestly, from what we've seen from Sword and Shield, I feel like Sun and Moon is due for like another boom. I wouldn't say like necessarily like exponentially high, but definitely a little bit higher than where it's at right now. So coming over to TCG player, obviously we can look at the year chart. I mean, as you could tell, there really wasn't a whole lot of movement, but then just a couple months later, you'd end up having this just colossal spike. Same thing for Cosmic. Yeah, same trend here. It was going up steadily, maybe some slight stagnation. But like I said, usually with older sets, they tend to uptrend, more frequently than newer sets. So like, for example, this is what I'm talking about. So for newer sets that are still relatively new, they'll uptick, but then they'll kind of stagnate, drop, up, down, like, what you see for graphs most of the time normally. But once you get to the older sets, it's mainly like just this. It'll most of the time, like 90% of the time, it'll go up. Now, how much will it go up by? I mean, that varies. So sometimes it could go up from, who knows, maybe 8 to 900, maybe 8 to 850. It really depends on the set. Like I said, demand is a huge driving factor when it comes to sets, mainly booster boxes moving up in price, very aggressively and, very quickly. So coming over to the set value, as you can tell, same trend here. Obviously, a lot of these sets, were doing very well back in 2021. But obviously, entering the new year, 2022, that's when a lot of things just started to drop, started to collapse. And then they started uptick going into the new year. And then obviously another collapse. And right now we're following that same trend, right? So same thing here, obviously went up going into the new year, came down for a couple months, went up going into the new year, came down. Right now we're going up, right? So let's just see a comment. So obviously this uptrend, lasted. I mean, for Cosmic, it appeared to last till like, I would say maybe till like September. For Chilling Reign, it lasted till like, I would honestly say around May, June, and then start to drop. So obviously with older sets, because they're more established, they've had a couple years under their belt, and obviously those cards and those booster boxes are getting more and more scarce as the supply starts to dry up. Obviously they tend to uptrend, for a little bit longer, or when it comes to a crash, they don't like completely nosedive, right? It's just like a slight trim, but then they'll recover. But as you can tell here, I mean, literally 2021 crashes, uptrend comes down, uptrend comes down. Right now we're on the uptrend, right? Same thing here. I mean, obviously we're up. Everything's up right now, right? I mean, same thing here. I mean, it's not really like super good. I mean, that's why this is singles. Okay, obviously, but this is single prices. So same thing here for the booster box. I mean, 2021 go up, a little bit of stagnation, technically a little bit down, and then you go up, some stagnation, maybe a slight downtrend, go up. So from what we're seeing right now, right? I mean, obviously, like this rapid growth appears to have lasted for Cosmic specifically a few months, like maybe 4 months, and then coming back to Chilling Reign, it appeared to have lasted for a couple months, so 4 or 5 months. So I would say the boom, like the spike, started to happen November. I think November is where I started to really see numbers climbing. Yeah, so around November going into December. So it's hard to say because obviously this happened during a boom. I mean, this went up like there was nothing. There was nothing that caused any sudden like surge in just prices to like there was nothing that happened in 2023. I remember there was no crazy boom, no new hype or nothing. It just naturally went up, and mainly it was with Sun and Moon sets, right? So keep in mind this is without anything. Right now we have a bunch of hype and demand for Pokemon, especially with the new sets, because Pokemon's just doing very well with Scarlet and Violet, especially from Prismatic. Then we have Team Rocket, the Black and White set, apparently a mega set, all this stuff, and then Journey Together, obviously. So, anyways, so it's really hard to predict. Okay, that's one thing no one can do. You can't really accurately predict when we'll start to see a downtrend, but the market is definitely due for like a correction. Now, is the market going to crash? No, absolutely not. The only way the market will crash where your investments are dropping 40, 50, 60% or something is if Pokemon just goes back and reprints every set. right? And they do a pretty large reprint. Like, yeah, you can have demand, but those reprints and stuff, mainly you could say, oh, if it has demand, the reprint shouldn't hurt it. Okay, but here's the factor though: everyone that invests in stuff, they're all, they feel secure investing in this stuff, right? Because they know one thing, that Pokemon isn't going to reprint, booster boxes. Usually it's just for packs. It's a little weird because sometimes like a little after, like a few months after 3 years, they'll still put some packs from the previous or the last set from the era and like the new tins or something. I don't know specifically how it works nowadays, but that's kind of how it was back then. But anyway, so for booster boxes, usually like the print window for that, for it to be circulating is, 2 to 3 years, right? So after 2 to 3 years, people expect like, okay, this set's done. We're not going to see anymore. What's on the market, what's out there now, that's what we're going to, be dealing with in case we want to invest into more product or we want to, buy more product to rip, right? So the only way the market can crash is if Pokemon just comes out of nowhere and just starts reprinting everything from the first edition base set, to now, and they do a large reprint. But obviously, they've seen what happens with other TCGs that do that, where they just reprint every set into the ground. Yu-Gi-Oh is a prime example where they're just reprinting the same card in like 10 different rarities, so like the value just like all over the place. Like there's really not like a whole lot of crazy value, especially for a lot of other sets. So Pokemon knows like obviously we want to meet that demand, but we don't want to completely, kill what we have going on. We want to, what we have going on, it's been working well for us. That's how it is. If something isn't broken, there's no reason to fix it. So with how it is, like, 2-3 year print window, that's been working fine all these years, right? Obviously, unless you have like those outlier scenarios for like a few months, there's just scalping, all that stuff. But usually, like I said, a couple months after that, like I would say, so it happens for a few months after that whole scalping session, whatever, prices usually start to correct and become a little more affordable before they start to uptrend. That's what I've just noticed. So I know that was a lot. So basically, market crash, that's the only way I see, like a market crash, like everything going to zero. But obviously, Pokemon is not going to be doing that, especially with what they've been doing with Scarlet and Violet. They've been changing up their formula, and hey, it's working for them. It is working for them. So they definitely know what they're doing. Okay. But what we can expect is a downtrend. Now, when will it happen? How much? No one can say for sure. But I mean, you can look at past history. Obviously, yes, it's different markets, different economies, different eras, like all types of things. But you can kind of get a general like idea of what to expect when a downtrend happens, or or how long that period of stagnation or whatever can occur for. I mean, hey, give up. Like I remember early 2024, basically here, right? Literally exactly here, from I would say January, February, all the way till I would say like August. Like August, yeah, August. So around, what is that? I would say anywhere like 6-7 months. For that time frame, nothing was moving. Like you'd probably go up 1%, you'd drop down like 0.5%, like basically like nothing was moving for months, right? Then you go into September, you start seeing that's what I was seeing, some slight, uptrend. Then October, I started to see like my numbers are starting to like, okay, numbers are going up. Once November hit, going into December, everything exploded. So when it comes to the market, we are due for a correction, especially with how aggressively a lot of things, rose. And hey, we're starting to see that with Sword and Shield. A lot of things are, obviously, pulling back from that aggressive trend upward. So a lot of those boxes that, Lost Origin, Fusion, Chilling, Evolving is kind of weird though. Evolving isn't really pulling back that much, but hey, I mean, it's Evolving, it's not, like for what Evolving has to offer, I'm actually not surprised that it's not pulling back hard or anything. Like it's like slight pullback, like a few dollars, right? But it's not like, it's selling at 1,200 or something right now. Like I think the cheapest on TCG Player yesterday was like 1,385, close to 1,400. But for other Sword and Shield sets, I mean, Lost Origin, Fusion, Chilling as well. I'm seeing that, but mainly Fusion and Lost Origin are the ones that I saw. Like they're getting some aggressive pullback. But hey, that's normal. That's just how it is. Hey, you follow this graph, we have a trend down, right? Then we have a period of stagnation, some maybe a little bit of a downtrend, a couple percent, like 2-3%, which I mean that's really nothing, right? You have that for a couple months, and then you have another bull run. That's pretty much how we've been seeing it for the last like 5-6 years. Anything before that time frame, it's kind of wonky, but yeah, it's been consistent like that for the last couple of years. And hey, that's one thing too. If you're investing in stuff, a lot of people, people can say, "Oh, it's not going to happen." I mean, to the people that say it's never going to happen, that this and that, or oh, that was back then. If anything nowadays, like the boom we're seeing right now, I would say is a lot higher and more aggressive than the first one we had. So, and when a lot of people are investing, making decisions, they look at past history to make like a very good decision. Like, hey, like I can see this happening, or there's like a this amount of chance, as long as it's within this range, which I see that happening from past history, it's still a win for me. And that's what we're seeing now, right? Which right now we're going up. People are going to enjoy those profits, whatever. But after a couple months, that's what I'm saying. Like personally, I would say later this year, we could start to see a downtrend. But I would say like around February, March is usually when you start to see a down. Which I mean, to be honest, we are seeing that with Sword and Shield after that like aggressive uptrend. So maybe for Sword and Shield that can occur, but maybe Scarlet and Violet will keep going up, but probably not as aggressively, because that's the thing, this market isn't going to last forever. So at the end of the day, I personally would say once a downtrend does happen, maybe everything will drop by like, I don't know, 15-20%. Like any percent from 40 and up, I don't see that happening. That's way too much. 30 is like the absolute max that I would see for losses, but even like that's like too far fetched. Like I would honestly say the max is like 15-20% is like the max, like total. So let's say you have 10 grand invested, right? Your inventory is 10 grand. I mean, losing 15-20% of that is like what, 2,000, right? And then you stagnate a little, whatever. And then once the bull market runs again, you end up making, who knows, triple, quadruple, or times 5 of what you lost. So let's say you lost 2,000. Once the bull market runs, you can end up making back, who knows, 5,000 to 8,000, right? So that's just how markets work. You just have to stay strong and keep that mindset of not getting scared and not getting desperate when you see things coming down, because that's the thing. A lot of people do this. They sell out because they see their stuff going down, and then fast forward a year, 2 years later, the same things they sold are now selling for double, triple, quadruple the price, and they're over here going like, man, I shouldn't have sold that, man. Like, how many people do you know that regret, like, oh, I shouldn't have sold these old sets, or oh, I shouldn't have sold, like, oh, I shouldn't have, like, it's always this, oh, I shouldn't have sold my old cards, or like 2,000 now, like, or this and that, because that's the thing. They either get scared most of the time. In other cases, like I said, where it does make sense to prioritize selling is if emergencies come up in life, right? So that's where it does make sense. But personally, for me, we are due for a correction. Now, how much will that correction be for the downturn? We don't know. I mean, for me personally, I would say the max is 20% loss. Max 30. It's too outstretched to really say 30%. It could happen, but 40 and higher, that, man, like something crazy needs to happen to have a 40% plus loss across the board. That's what I'm saying. 15-20% max, in my opinion. Downtrend, I mean, I would like to say in a couple months, but so far we're seeing that for Sword and Shield. There could be a chance, especially with all the really great, Scarlet and Violet sets. Maybe Scarlet and Violet doesn't get affected that much. Maybe prices come down a little, like a couple percent, and maybe we started seeing some stagnation, not like, repeated growth. So that's all I'm gonna say. I mean, look at the history. That's just how it is. But one thing is for sure, I mean, I mean, I'm just looking at the total value for cards, right? But booster boxes applies. I mean, goes up, comes down, stagnates, reaches new highs, keeps going, comes down, stagnates, reaches new highs, so on and so forth. So that's just how it is. We definitely are due for a correction now. Like I said, when will it happen? How much? We don't know. Personally, I'd like to say in a couple months, 15-20% max loss. That's what I would like to say. But I think Sword and Shield will be affected the most. Scarlet and Violet, probably not too much, especially what they have going on so far. Sun and Moon might be an outlier because, like I said, I mean, yeah, it's going up, but I feel like it should be a little higher. So who knows? Maybe it does end up going a little higher, right? And then starts to downtrend a little, stagnate, right? Who knows? It's really hard to, like, once sets get older and older and a lot more scarce, where there's maybe only one or two, posted on eBay or across the online, marketplaces. Yeah, that's where, like, that whole up, down, whatever, you don't see that too often, right? But the downside is once a product gets super, super pricey, the amount of people that can afford it or are willing to buy it drastically just decreases. So that's just how it is, but that's my opinion. If you're looking at it from a long-term investment perspective, you have nothing to worry about. This is normal. We are due for a crash. If you barely got into the hobby and you barely started investing and you weren't here last year or the previous years, and just prepare yourself mentally, because I'm telling you, it sucks watching your graph. Because like I said, I've used the collector app. I absolutely love it. I recommend it. Looking at my graph for months, right? For like a couple months, and within a couple months, I maybe gone up like $2,000, right? Like $2,000 or something, right? Like literally, like that's in 6 to like 8 months, right? And keep in mind, like I've said this before, this is with me having multiple cases of Evolving Skies, Lost Origin, Fusion, Chilling, Crown Zenith, like cases like that, right? And in 6 to 8 months, only going up like 2,000, right? Or something like that. So yeah, I mean, it's really discouraging, seeing that, like, man, like, but I'm just like, at the end of the day, I'm like, hey, that's just how markets work. Nothing goes up forever. It has to come down eventually. Downtrend stagnates for a couple months, then it reaches new highs. So that's just how it is. Don't be scared. Don't be worried. If you're looking at it from a long-term perspective, you literally have nothing to worry about. It's normal. But just be ready, because it will happen. And one thing I will recommend is have cash set aside to make, really good moves when the downtrend does happen, because this happens every single time people buy. You might see this for Scarlet and Violet boxes. People get scared. They get like, they're like, oh, what if it crashes? What if I'm not able to sell it for what I bought it for? I have to sell. And they start unloading it like cheap, and that's where you start to see a lot of price roaring. And that's where you start to see where if you throw them an offer, they're more than likely they're going to take that offer instead of saying, oh no, I want market now, because of the market we're in right now. But once that downtrend starts to happen, they get really desperate, they get scared, and they'll take whatever offer they can get, as long as it's not like a massive global, like 70, 60, 50%. And who knows, maybe there are people that have huge collections and they're willing to load it for 70% because they're scared. But that's one thing. A lot of big investors, not even, I'm not saying in the way people that have like 100 grand lying around, like people that have like a decent amount, who knows, 5, 10, 50, whatever, that obviously have money to buy boxes right now. They're not buying aggressively because they know that a downtrend will happen, right? And when it does happen, they're going to be the ones that come in. And see, people think that, when it happens, no one's going to be buying that stuff. Hey, I'll be buying it. A bunch of other people will be buying when that downtrend does occur. That's where you can make money. When the market's down, right? People are unloading things like for cheap. That's your chance. That's your opportunity to get in cheap, hold it for X amount of years, and at the price you bought it for, who knows, you'll end up tripling, quadrupling your money. Same thing. Sell it off when you're ready. Wait for a downtrend. Pick it up cheap. Hold it. Rinse and repeat. Because there's too many people that have, that have Butterfingers that literally just cannot keep things, and they're just like, oh, like hot potato. They're just gonna keep throwing it around until it ends up in the hands of a collector that's gonna keep it in their collection, a rip and shipper where it gets deleted out the market, or a whale. And as you guys know, a lot of whales, they'll keep buying and they'll never sell. They don't care how much they've gone up, they'll keep it. So, I would say rip and shippers it would suck more because they're literally deleting the product from the market, like it's gone. So with the whale, I mean, they could sell. Who knows? Probably 50 years from now, but yeah. So that's my thoughts when it comes to the market. We are due for a correction. My prediction is, I would say in a couple months, 20% for for max. 30% is too much. But I feel like the era that will get affected the most when a downtrend does occur is probably Sword and Shield. Scarlet and Violet, maybe a little, because the prices we are seeing are a little bit higher, than what they should be, in my opinion. I'm not saying that the sets are all garbage or whatever, but just for the prices they're at right now, they should be a tad lower. Not that much lower where I'm saying like, oh, they should be 100, 120, but they should be a tad lower. That's all I'll say. So, anyways, be ready. Right? Don't be scared when the downtrend happens. Be ready. You have a couple months or whenever that happens to prepare yourself. Obviously, buy into the new sets, but obviously you want to keep some money set aside because you never know. During those markets, I'd be finding some pretty crazy deals. That's all I'll say. So, anyways, if you guys did enjoy this video, feel free to drop a like, comment, and sub. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. And with that, bye for now.